story-driven experience. But if you like action, just press View Dream and play the labelled fun part. Okay, so it's a game stroke story. Well, I like stories, and War of the Worlds is a great story. No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Few men even considered the possibility of life on other planets. And yet, across the gulf of space, minds immeasurably superior to ours regarded this Earth with envious eyes, and slowly but surely they drew their plans against us. There's actually a wonderful musical by Jeff Wayne. Oh, at midnight on the 12th of August, a huge jet of luminous gas erupted from Mars. The esteemed astronomer Ogilvy observed the first eruptions. He was quite excited to tell me of them. Most people were blissfully unaware of the invisible missiles hurtling towards Earth. Ogilvy himself said the chances of life on Mars were 1,000,000 to 1. I witnessed a streak of fire in the sky. I had no reason to suspect it was anything more than a meteor or a shooting star. It landed on Horsell Common near Woking. The following day I heard of the strange cylinder which had landed and decided to go and see for myself. A crowd had gathered on the common, hypnotised by the unscrewing of the cylinder. The lid has been turning all day. What could be inside? Such a queer contraption. What will they think of next? Ogilvy wanted to help those trapped inside, but the heat was still too strong for him to approach. Someone's alive in that thing! Those poor souls must have been roasted in there. Tension was high as the massive screw extended a full 10 feet or more. The lid had come off. Oh my. Some men went out with a white flag to show our intentions were peaceful. It was as if each man was suddenly turned to fire. Oh. Oh no. It's as if an invisible but intensely heated finger were drawn through the ether between me and the Martians. Heather. Ooh, run, 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 run. Ran to my home as fast as could to find my wife. I could hear the pounding of guns in the distance, and yet nature seemed undisturbed, as if nothing had happened. I entered my home to find it deserted. My wife must have fled in the ensuing chaos. I could only pray that she and my brother had found safety. No doubt they believed me dead by this time. My brother had always been a very dependable and level-headed chap, which did give me some comfort knowing she would be in good hands. I could find nothing of use to me inside the house. Wandering the empty house, it seemed as if all life had been taken out, and now it felt unnatural to call such a lonely place home. There, by the side of the road, I found a cart abandoned with the wheels smashed to bits. Nearby, I saw the horse which had drawn the wagon. Evidently, the owner had not been so cruel as to leave the poor beast yoked to its fallen vehicle. Still, the horse refused to leave its station. Even horses are not accustomed to change, just as we humans refuse to notice the world crashing down around us. So too did this horse cling to normalcy. If I could find a new wheel for the wagon, this horse might carry me to Byfleet, where I might be reunited with my beloved. Wheel. I love how authentically Victorian it is, just like the original story. Perhaps in the garden shed I might find a wheel to fit the car. Oh, there we go. That's got it. Now to catch the horse. Now all that remained was to attach the horse to its cart. I should grab it by the head. I was overtaken by a dreadful deluge. Such was my haste to reach Byfleet that I did not bother to pitch the carrier. Little did I know the Martians had unleashed a new horror which had silenced the guns on the common. A loud crashing sound came from the wood. It stood high above me like a titanic metal engine with monstrous whip-like tentacles. The body stood on three legs and resembled a brazen hood which no doubt the house Martian occupied. Evidently the machine had felt the harmlessly glance of its foot. The horse was cruelly dispatched. I cannot imagine why they had done such a senseless act. The only reason I could conjure up was that the view of my minor impact upon them. They could not tolerate even a feeble resistance against the domination of the earth. These subtitles are too fast. Like, I can't read them quickly enough. Oh no! There's stuff to jump over. I didn't see that. Oh, what the heck? Now where do I go? What? No! Oh, I gotta go down, right? Oh no. Okay, that just did a weird thing. The way is blocked. I could cut through the thicket. Pull back the branches till they're stuck in place. Free. It's lovely landscapes that you're going through. I came upon what must have been an artillery corps, now reduced to ashes. The stench of the charred remains was dreadful. my surprise, I came upon an artilleryman who was still alive, though clearly battered and exhausted. "I'm dying of thirst," is all the words he could muster from his parched throat. I went to seek out some water to help the poor man. Water. I saw a fallen bucket which had probably been used to cool the barrels of the great guns. It would make an excellent container for water. Oh, wait, no. I haven't got any water yet, have I? I've got the bucket, but no water. So no point going back there. Here you go, have a bucket. Right, water's going to be there. A puddle. There was water in a ditch. It was dirty, but no doubt the artilleryman would not spurn even somewhat clouded water. He seemed quite invigorated by the dirty rainwater I had given him, gulping it down as if it were sweet tonic. I had to pass out the details of what had happened gradually as he spoke in fractured sentences, but the best I could arrive at was this. We had no idea what hit us. They came striding over the trees like big metal giants. They stopped as if they didn't know what we were about. We let them have it. Ooh. We nearly hit them once. Then came the fire. We didn't stand a chance. I saw men go up in smoke like dried leaves. I would have been dead too had it not let clear. I lay still for a bit till they got off. The artilleryman was anxious to report to his headquarters, so we made our route through Weybridge. I spied a group of gunners spread out near the riverbank. At least they'll have a fighting chance, I remarked to the artilleryman. Bows and arrows against the lightning. They haven't seen that fire beam yet, he said doubtfully. People were panicking their possessions and evacuating in rather casual manners, as if the Martians were merely an inconvenience. Packing. No, I did not know that, Randy. Though that's another fascinating bit of tree knowledge. A crowd of people had gathered around the curate who was giving a fervent sermon concerning the Martians. Everyone, we should not fear our brothers from space. They are bringing their wisdom to help mankind make a better world. They are God's angels. The artilleryman voiced his opinion. I've just come from fighting those bloody Martians. They murdered my old corps, fried them like bacon. Was that the work of God's angels? You pledged yourself to the devil's empire. Those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. My dear sir, do you not realise what waits beyond those pines? Death! Death as swift and indiscriminate as fire. The Martians kill anything they see. I could see that my words had disturbed many in the crowd who now began to doubt the curate's vision of the Martians. The Martians came striding over the pines, smashing the trees like matchwood. A hit! The Martian occupant was lashed to the four winds. The tripod, now nothing but an intricate engine of metal, went whirling into destruction. Having had to taste the terrestrial weaponry, the Martians retreated, carrying the body of their fallen comrade. Perhaps mankind had a fighting chance after all. The ships were packed with people desperate to escape England. My wife and brother were among them. For a brief instant our eyes met before she was carried away. With them went my last hope of escape. A team of tripods were seen heading seaward as if to intercept the mass exodus. The only vessel to oppose them was the torpedo ram Thunderchild. Don't think that was very successful. Let's try... Should we fire or should we ram? I reckon we should fire. Had the warship not sounded her guns, she might have stood a chance. Oh no. The other ships escaped the sea while nothing and no one remained to stand against the Martians. I wandered aimlessly through the land which now resembled an alien world. The red weed which gave Mars its colour had taken root on Earth. Snakes of blue light swam through the air like fireflies, puncturing the crimson landscape with their brilliance. Here and there I saw fat, squat creatures roughly 6 feet tall. They seemed to possess a lower intelligence than man and wore a singular toothy smile as their only form of expression. At the time I had no idea about the dark connection between these creatures and the Martians, and assumed they must be cosmic stowaways. It's getting in my way. The weed crept over the land like red fingers choking the waterways. Every hedgerow and tree was thick with crimson stands. The bloated humanoids played in the stream like children. The scene was oddly heartwarming to me. Somehow it seemed as if we of the earth and these poor stupid creatures had similar traits in common. I came upon a cottage which seemed deserted, so I thought it best to shelter there, as my exhaustion was at its limit. A man lay with his face against the table. He was so still at first I thought he might be dead. It was the curate. He looked far worse than when I had seen him last, caked with dirt, a look of utter despair in his eyes. "It's you! The man in the crowd at Weybridge," he said. We talked for a bit until the curate made a rather strange declaration. I know now I was mistaken. The Martians are not here to save mankind. Before I could digest his statement, I heard a gramophone echoing from upstairs. It was Rule Britannia, of all things. The curate seemed unfazed by this sudden breach of silence. I asked him who else was in the house, and he answered, God's children. Wait, maybe... Where do I need to go? Oh, it's probably the other bit. Ah. Oh, there we go. It's a maze. Do I have to go up here? Oh, I do have to go up there. Okay. Didn't do that initially, but now I do. Turned me to still smiling stupidly. Suddenly I was struck with a hideous realization. Those creatures had not been brought by accident, but by design. Once humanity had been made extinct and these simple fellows would inherit the earth as the pawns of the Martians. I had to go back to the curate to discuss our survival. Tried to urge the curate that we should immediately search any possible food stores that might remain in the house, but he was resigned to inaction. It's no use. God has judged us, and we are to be wiped out, just as Sodom in its day. At this point I was growing weary of his selfish despair and sought to make myself useful elsewhere in the house. Oh, what did I just take then? So have I got to go finding? Okay, I've got to go finding things. Just the drawers. Okay. It's just 2 of 26. See. Nothing there. Oh, can I go in here? I can. Oh, okay. There's like a bunch of food and stuff on the shelf. Can't find that. There's plenty of stuff to find. Nothing there. I reckon the last bit is where that alien was. That's a bit weird. Okay. There we go. Got all the food. I had intended to set out for London the following morning, but by now the curtain of black smoke had reached the cottage. The deadly cloud hemmed in on all sides, trapping me in the house of misery. The curate was a constant presence, so much so that I felt the need to lock myself away to avoid his whimperings of doom. Later, a fighting machine came and dispelled the smoke with a great jet of steam. The curate received a nasty burn to his hands. From then on, we waited for a chance to escape. At first, I had no idea what had happened. Then I realised a cylinder had landed on the house. Poor devil. The curate knelt and said some words for the creature. The whole thing seemed very comical to me now. Martians hammered in the pit, ceaseless and indefatigable, for the Martians neither ate nor slept. They piloted complex mechanisms known as handling machines, which were used to assemble their massive fighting machines. They were so fluid and dexterous I mistook them for living creatures, until I noticed the Martian driver, which acted as the brain of the complicated machine. I'd never given much thought as to what the function of the basket-like cage which hung from the back of the fighting machine served. I'm soon to witness its dreadful purpose. It turned out that it served as a container for captured humans. The Martians' only method of consumption was to inject fresh blood from another living donor directly into their own veins. They had a definite preference for man. This preference seemed to make sense, as man more closely resembled the humanoid creatures the Martians had brought with them from Mars. Unlike these creatures, however, man was very difficult to manage and often required restraint in order to safely siphon blood. The fat creatures, on the contrary, were so accepting of their fate, they lined up like children outside a cafe shop to be drained dry. I saw and heard things which I'd rather not remember, at least until I could endure them. The curate began rambling. It's just, oh God, it's just, on me and mine be the punishment laid. We have sinned. I preached acceptable folly when I should have stood up. Now God's judgment has come upon us all. Oh dear. Oh, now I've got to escape from the thingy. I awoke perceiving only hunger and a strange stillness. The food had evidently all been taken by the Martian during my lapse, and now all that remained was the residue of my previous luncheon from the day before. At the moment of this realization I despaired, but by and by I knew I must risk venturing out to find sustenance. That one. Fortune smiled on me as the pit lay deserted with a dead silence hanging over it. I felt a pang of remorse for the curate, who was almost certainly dead, or worse. I was desperate for nourishment, and until my hunger was satisfied, my reason would remain impaired. A flock of Martian cattle grazed fat and aimless, but they appeared slightly ill, as if they suffered from some malady. How do I get that one? Yeah, there we go. Any more? No. Once I had regained my energy, I now began to think clearly again. My immediate concern was for my own survival, and I reasoned that London might be my best chance for sanctuary. I encountered a particularly surly humanoid blocking my path. He seemed to have some cause to dislike me, and was willing to act on his impulse to attack me. Running's no good because I can't go anywhere. I'm gonna have to attack him. Oh, there we go. I knocked him out. Who goes there? There's nothing here, this is my territory. A man called to me, brandishing a sword. At first I did not recognise the dirty, bedraggled figure, but as I saw him better I realised it was the artilleryman. "Oh, it's you, the man at Weybridge," he said, lowering his sabre. "Good luck, we're lucky ones." He proceeded to explain how he had survived his encounter with the Martians. "I scurried like a rat and hid myself in a drain. Sewers ain't that bad, really, once you get used to it." Few men know the comfort and security of a sewer. It's a bit like mother's embrace. On my way to London, I saw lights in the sky. They'd learned to fly. Oh no. Where did that light come from? Oh no. Oh no! No, 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 that thing's got me. Oh, I can hardly see that trick. Oh no! Oh, it's a bit hard to see. Run, 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 run. Oh, I got away. Fly? It's over then? There's something go round the world. It's that for humanity. We're down. We're beat. We're all just ants to them. Except we're eatable ants. They mean to smash us up and make us their livestock. I've thought it through. They haven't begun on us yet. Haven't begun? All that's happened to us so far is because we haven't had the good sense to stay out of their way. We're worried then with the guns and such nonsense. We can't win, so we need to think about survival. There's miles of sewer under London, all sweet and clean after the rain with no one stinking them up. The weak are going to have to clear out. We haven't got room for layabouts and useless types. Always running around fretting about the silly jobs and jumping in when the boss says jump. There'll be big, fat, sweet-blooded rubbish when the Martians get through with them. Pretty soon they'll wonder how we ever got on without the Martians. Can't believe it. You really think? You know it's true. I thought you might have been one of them. One of the weak ones, that is. You're a bit slender and soft, no offence. We shan't argue about that. Tell me more about your plan. We can use men like you. I'm not strange at the concept of death. I ain't no ornamental soldier. Dying ain't so bad, it's the funking that's bad. We have to avoid devolving into big rats. That's where you come in. We need educated types like you to teach kids. Not poems and rubbish, but science. We've got to always be learning and expanding our knowledge. That's how we keep from devolving. We need good, sensible women too. No eye-rolling uns or la-dee-da types. Survival's all that matters. One day, maybe, we'll capture a fighting machine. Imagine that. The Martians are all out in their fighting machines and every one of them are fumbling or got a screw loose. Our lads who give themselves up to the Martians will see to that. And then we come up with a hate ray, and whoosh! The earth belongs to man again. The whole idea was quite unrealistic, but he spoke so authoritatively that I've begun myself to believe his wild fantasies. I even agreed to accompany him to his readout in the sewers of London. He referenced it as being very significant to his schemes. We can dig tunnels everywhere. I'm working on tunneling to a nearby warehouse. Take a look. Showed me a hole he'd been digging for a week. Not more than 5 feet long. I could have reached that length in an hour's work. I suddenly had my first inkling of the gap between his dreams and powers. I did my best to help him despite my perceptions, and after half an hour he called for a recess. I think I'm a bit worn out. Let's have a bit of relaxation, he said, as if we had accomplished anything of merit. It seems strange to imagine it now, but we actually played cards, and even produced some champagne which he doubtless salvaged from some abandoned house. After a time I began to feel I was a traitor to my race for squandering my time playing cards, while mankind was in jeopardy. I had to make a decision. I tried to reason with the man, pointing out the hopelessness of his mad dream, but he was unwilling to admit his folly, choosing instead to evade my logical arguments. Get out! Martian! I'll never give in. You Martians can't have me. I groped my way up out of the sewers, expecting the worst. London was unrecognisable, a great desert of smashed houses and ash-covered roads. Such a sad end for the hub of an empire. Even the red weed had begun to wither and die. I was so weary and footsore, I laid myself upon the pavement, not caring if the Martians detected me. My mind and soul endured so much torment, I felt numb to any emotion or fatigue. I drifted off into slumber, the artilleryman's words echoing in my mind. Maybe one day we'll capture a fighting machine. Imagine that. I dreamt I was in a fighting machine. Against all logic, I understood its operation. The power was now in my hands. All around me stood a host of Martians. My thoughts raced, and all at once I knew what I was about to do. Now it suddenly turned into a game of capture the base. The fantasy sequence. "25 enemies remaining." That is quite satisfying. Actually, this heat ray is good. It's got a lot of range. Still they come. I guess this is the fun part that he said about in the description. Now where do I go? They're very slow, these Martians. Or these fighting machines, anyway. Oh, now we got enemies. Yeah. God, these things are annoying. Oh. Alright. No, don't die. Come on, die. Yes. So close to running out of health, man. Where they coming from now? pretty big aim, as long as it's within that circle. We'll get it. Oh. That was no longer a victim, no longer human. Such a hideous dream. Sometimes you get what you desire is worse than death. As a man walking in graveyard, my footsteps echoing through the tombstone faces of what was once London, I now perceived my loneliness more acutely, mingled with feeling of loneliness. And I knelt, and for the first time I prayed in earnest. Why was I still alive while everything around me lay dead? Suddenly the silence was broken by a strange cry. Oh, la, la. The fog cleared, revealing a fighting machine. I was seized with an insane resolve. I would give myself up to them, end it here and now. It raised the heat ray, and then it stopped. It had spared my life, but why? I'll never forget that sound. The sound of death. The Martians in their prime were the things of nightmares, unstoppable, infinitely cruel and calculating. Now they whimpered as unruly children awaiting their punishment. Earlier I had dreamed of having vengeance upon these poor creatures, but now, despite everything, I pitied them. Pity for the pitiless. In the end, after all man's devices had failed, it was the humblest of God's creations which vanquished them. Bacteria. From the moment they set foot on Earth, they were doomed. The torment was over. The starving and lost people scattered over the country, the thousands who had fled by sea, all would return in time, including the one most dear to me. The pulse of life would beat again. My dear brother had survived also. As life returns to normal, the question of another attack from Mars causes universal concerns. It may be that they are planning a counterattack. Several eruptions of gas were seen headed towards the planet Venus, so perhaps they have given up on Earth altogether. Whatever the Martians' fate may be, we men of Earth have inherited a gift, a new Earth born from the ashes of despair. May we never reach the same end as the Martians. The artilleryman came to his senses and became a prolific author of philosophical novels. His most noted works are The Morlock Mindset and The Pit of Man. The curate received a nasty bump but managed to escape detection by the Martians. He continues his work in the church and considers the Martian invasion as instrumental in him helping find true redemption. I and the curate meet from time to time. and have quite forgiven each other's actions during the invasion. The two artillerymen who slew the Martian fighting machine at Weybridge survived the attack and received the Victoria Cross for their valorous actions. The Thunderchild went down with all hands, but due to the actions of their crew, 3,568 people escaped to sea, eventually landing safely in France. In the year 1911, a single Martian cylinder landed in Russia. No Martians were discovered within just a tiny metallic spool, with inscriptions in multiple languages scrawled on its surface. Its universal meaning was a single word: help. The end. Well, that was fantastic. That was such a good adaptation of an amazing story. Just captured it brilliantly. Yeah, amazing. That's like a good hour to play through.